Welcome to Create Before Consume. Now, here's your host, Fitz.
Welcome to Create Before Consume, a podcast from creators for creators. And today we're doing something special because I have my wife here. And obviously I kind of have to introduce her because I kind of talk about her a lot, but just indirectly. But she is the mastermind behind Saturatelife. She is also a very passionate DIYer, and she had TBI, and I think we will talk about that and all the other things around this because it is quite the interesting topic right now with having TBI and going through that. So who are you?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am Fitz's wife, and I'm more creative than anything else, and I've always been this way, but it definitely surpassed itself after I got a traumatic brain injury, TBI.
Okay, with you saying TBI, what does that mean? And can you describe the whole thing a little bit more?
Okay, I guess we're going to go right into it. A traumatic brain injury is literally exactly that. It is an injury to the brain. It can come in various levels. So there's mild, moderate, and severe. Mine was severe. A concussion is mild. So since mine was severe, it was pretty traumatic. In my left temporal lobe, I basically have a lot. I have a lot of scar tissue, essentially the brain equivalent of scar tissue. And so I had to go and develop a lot of different neural pathways. So right now I have a lot of plasticity going on in my brain, which is actually really fun and interesting in terms of a different life.
Yeah, with that being said, I don't know very fancy words. Like you like to talk in a very educated way, and
despite being brain damaged.
Yeah. But I think like for the regular viewer, we should just break it down. Like you had an accident, your brain is healing, and how did it happen? And tell a little bit about that and how it impacted your life.
Okay. In general, I went to an event and it was a music festival thing. Went on my bicycle in October 2022 and then biked on home afterwards, where there in St. Pete on the bike trails, there's moments that go up, over, and down. And my accident happened on the down portion. I don't remember what happened. My memory is blank. I thankfully was with some friends, so therefore an ER ambulance was called. I was sent to the ER and spent about 2 weeks of my life that I don't know what happened. You know more about it than what I do, honestly.
I do. Wear your helmet, so very important. And obviously Rachel is like very good about wearing her helmet, and she's always like, Fitz, you gotta wear your helmet, you gotta do this and do that. And on that night, she basically did not.
That night, I did not.
Yeah, so it's like exactly when you think you get away with it, you actually don't get away with it, what can be very scary.
Yeah.
So how did it impact your life? How do you feel now?
So there's definitely I got really into it, and so that's kind of it. I'm learning a lot about anatomy, about myself, about like what exactly goes on in the brain. So I did have problems that happened to my emotions and stuff like that. So I get really excited at points and I get really sad at points. So depression has gone skyrocketed because of this, but also like I get also excited at various weird things, including cats. I like cats.
You were talking about cats on the hospital a lot. With that being said, like you had even more damage. You lost hearing on the one side of your ear. You had several bones broken.
Correct.
You were in really bad conditions because as your husband, I kind of know all about it. And other people currently who have TBI were probably not as lucky if they had the same injury as you, because the doctors were surprised that you could write, that you could talk, that you could do everything. And you seem from the outside very normal. Can you talk about like how that impacted your life?
It honestly made me afraid to mention that I have TBI. It hasn't been quite a year yet that I've been recovered, and I've been surprising doctors about my recovery and how well I'm doing. But it definitely is something where like again, it's the temporal lobe, not the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is where like a lot goes on. So honestly, I probably would be worse if that one was more affected, but it still doesn't matter. Your brain is still valuable. So there's still a lot that can go wrong even with the temporal lobe.
Yeah. With that being said, like obviously you were heavily impacted when you were in the hospital. You were like a little child, and you basically grew up in the 2 to 3 weeks or even 4 weeks when you were in the hospital to being like a young adult, what was kind of weird. And obviously you don't remember that, so I can talk from that aspect. And your brain injury is way worse than you kind of mention it right now, because like your whole brain basically got really shocked, you know?
Yeah, I don't remember. That's why I literally do not remember about 2 weeks of my life. There are bits and pieces though after that, and I know that I was overly friendly. Like I was way too friendly, as in you thought.
She was like friendly with the strangers. If I wouldn't have like watched after her, she would go with the next guy to the gas station and follow them and do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were too friendly and you were basically childlike.
So I don't remember any of that, and so I grew up since then. But still, in a way, I also sat there and went, life's short. And that's really something to reinforce to people, that it's shorter than what you think it is. Traumatic brain injury happens to 1.7 million people annually. That's every year. So you don't think you're part of that number, but you very well could be. I was part of that number. So like I can say, like, I didn't think that I was ever going to be part of that number.
Yeah.
Treat life like it is short. And so I'm obsessed with doing creative things. So I decided that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be creative, and I'm going to do the things that make me happy, not the things that make me sad.
Yeah. With that being said, like obviously it impacted work, and it impacted like your concentration and your moods. And how's your day to day, so that people who don't know you and they maybe see a girl that talks from the outside, looks normal, acts normal, what does that mean? How is your day affected?
My day again, I'm childlike. So what do children do? They need to be very, very careful about if they're hungry, if they're thirsty, if they're tired. And I need to be very careful about that. So I need to have my naps. I need to have my snacks. I need to drink water and be reminded to drink water.
There we go.
Tea time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I sound very normal. I'm in one of my happy, excited moods right now, but there are definitely also moods where I am absolutely terrified, exhausted, and stress will make me way more stressed than what an average person will be. So when I was doing my career, which bless them and everything about them, I had a hard time with it. I had a hard time going back to work. I was just terrified of everything. Everything overwhelmed me way too much, and I couldn't handle it. So I had to take a step back. And so, yes, I'm choosing to do things that are creative, but that's because it's something that brings me flourishment in life, while like what I was doing before terrified me. Like I literally had a mirror behind me to see like a rear view mirror above my computer, so that people can see. I could see that people approach my desk. That's how terrified people made me, and that's a very common residual thing of trauma.
Well, there's more to it. First off, because you lost hearing on your ear, you probably don't mention that now. Yeah, that's the real reason why you need the mirror. But everything scares you now more.
Everything does. So like I have to rearrange myself to make sure that things don't sneak up on me. Like I did a gym class one time, and there was this bar, and I was supposed to dangle myself from it. I could not handle that. I'm just like, I do not remember the accident, but I definitely had a lot of bruising on the side that I can't hear out of now, my right side. And that must have brought something back up when I had to go dangle myself from these straps.
Yeah. Yeah, you got very fortunate when after your accident that you got your full range of motion and everything, but overall you were heavily impacted. Like your ear is like somewhere up there in the brain, so it's not where it was like internally, but your life kind of changed. So what are the biggest changes that you noticed?
I mean, besides fear, it's definitely like a lot more wonder. I'm curious about a lot of things. I've always been curious, but like I feel like there's a lot more things to investigate, to learn, to know. And like, so I've changed even somewhat of my reading habits, where I read a lot more philosophy and metaphysics as opposed to just business books on top of my smutty fiction books.
Smutty fiction books. That's what we call them. Yeah, I think that is also actually a good point, because like on the day of your accident or something like that, you kind of drew something similar like that.
Yeah, so it wasn't the day of it was like 3 days beforehand. At work, my superior was the boss, the name of the company, was celebrating their 50th birthday. So there was a present that was going around, which was a book that everybody was supposed to draw in. I was inspired. I don't know what made me decide to do it, because it's not like he ever talked about Marcus Aurelius. This is Marcus Aurelius. He never talked about Marcus Aurelius, but something told me that this is something that would impact him. And I did exactly what I did for this drawing, is I wrote quotes on it all over the page in a square format. And then my vision saw Marcus Aurelius' face on it then. So I took some trace paper, printed out his statue of him, and I spray adhesived it to the page. And yeah, it is effective, because the words that they use in philosophy mean a lot, and it can definitely enlighten you and bring you further in life without like, it's like in conjunction with religion and politics. It has nothing to do with either of those. It's just a moral philosophy that you bring forward to your life. And I felt like Marcus Aurelius probably did say things, and I knew this guy read a lot of books. He and I talked about books that would bring him forward and me forward too. And that's what I found when I was doing it. It was like, it made me feel better as well. Yeah. So this occurred, like I finished it like 2 days before the accident, like 2 or 3 days before the accident. So like this started before and after the accident.
Yeah. But the thing why I mentioned it, why I really like it, it is actually really cool, because like they are like quotes, and they are like kind of motivational quotes, or how you kind of should see life to make life more acceptable, because life is painful, and with pain there comes also beauty and all the other stuff. So there's like a lot of good quotes in there, and I really dig the style. So I'm very thankful for that art piece. And yeah, can you talk about it a little bit more though?
This art piece specifically,
or the strategy, or the message, or the mission of
the message, that it's mostly just for me. Like it definitely, and Stoicism definitely is something that inspires others as well, but it's something that I need to spend my time doing, and it's something that really helps calm me down. It helps my depression, my anxiety, and it reminds. And then like I like to create it for others as well, simply because it helps them, remind them of that message as well. So like for you, the first thing you see in there, at dawn when you have trouble getting out of bed, you just have to say to yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. Like, you don't get up early.
So you choose the words.
I chose words for you. So because I knew that's so like I also choose the last ones too. Everything in the middle I know kind of goes.
Yeah, I think you need to read the first one for everybody who's like listening the audio version. So can you quote it?
At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, you say to yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do? What was I born to do? And I can't remember all of it.
Yeah, it's a little hard to read from here, but it's like, it's basically very like, oh yeah, you should inspire to work, because that is your
and so it's not just Marcus Aurelius that I've done this for. I'm an avid metalcore listener, so I actually also was very inspired by part of my recovery. I was very inspired by the band Nothing More, and so I actually went and made exactly the same style, but with their lyrics and some of their artwork on their album cover, and gifted it to them. I have a photo of myself with them after I gave it to them, and it was really inspiring to hear the words of like thanks and gratitude for it. It was early in their tour, so I'm like, oh gosh, this is a big print that they're going to be touring with. This is awkward, but they appreciated it. So it means a lot that also it's something for others to look at and really revel in and know that it's me appreciating something, them appreciating it as well.
Yeah. So let's go back to the whole TBI thing. What is like a thing that really helped you besides like obviously the stoicism? Are there like kind of tips and tricks for like people who are recovering from brain injury, in your opinion?
You do things that you enjoy and you have passion for. And then also there was a recovery time where I couldn't even do a really long walk because I was just exhausted all the time. So definitely sleep helps. Taking the time to take care of yourself. And I also went to work too early. That's awkward and hard for me to say about. Sorry. I love all the people that I work with and stuff like that, but I was not recovered. And so don't sit there and use the American capitalism system and immediately like run back to the office because you weren't working.
Yeah, on that note, we kind of have to mention, because like obviously I was doing some work with you because obviously you wanted to do stuff and you were at 100% mentally. Like you could concentrate for short periods of time if it's at the right pace. But if you go back into an office where you don't have control over, like I'm working now 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, you don't have any control. And I think that was the downfall, because other people will maybe feel like amazing, like I go back to work, no problem.
Yeah, yes, I definitely felt 100%. And mentally I was there. I could remember my projects that I was working in architecture. And so I could remember the projects I was working on. I could remember the people that I needed to get an email, and I could remember all those things. But it was, again, I was exhausted. So like it was the 8-hour time frame, and talking to people, I was articulate. So like it was hard to understand that I was not 100%. And I basically kind of fell flat on my face mentally because I just needed to have more breaks in my time, but I didn't even understand that.
Yeah. There was many times where I'm like, okay, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. She needs to eat, and then we eat again at 12, and then it's nap time. And it's like there's a weird routine that you kind of have to accept, or things are getting kind of dark.
Yeah, and again, this is during the recovery period. This might not be for the entire life. One thing also is I got more involved on the subreddit for TBI. And being able to see everybody else's recovery times and things like that. Some people, these things are permanent, and some people they're not. So there's no definite. That's what's really annoying about TBI. There's no definite, oh, this long, you're cured. It's not like breaking a bone, where like you need to be in a cast for 8 weeks and then you're done. There's no certainty. Yeah. And that's what's frustrating.
With that being said, too, it's like also like kind of hard to see what you should do and shouldn't do. What are the activities that you found very therapeutic?
Reading. So anything that didn't involve a lot of noise and sound. So reading was definitely like that. Like I read a lot of fiction, which like we joked about earlier, but that helps a lot because it's like mentally watching a movie, but it's not a movie.
Yeah. Another thing was obviously the sleeping and playing with the cats, I think.
Yeah, messing with the cats and playing with the cats. I miss them a lot. That was also a way that the nurses I don't remember this, but I was told this, that's how the nurses understood even where I was mentally when they're going, what are your cats' names? Charles, Fina. okay,
Yeah.
wasn't there because I couldn't remember the third one. Yes,
Yeah,
we have
but-
3 cats.
Yeah, but that being said, we should talk about like the things you couldn't remember and how that phase was because like yeah.
Okay, so after getting out of ICU, this is something that I do remember. I went into rehabilitation. So like they had a lot of, they did some physical and like mental things. So I did have to they did quiz me on language. This was an interesting and frustrating time because where I got injured deals a lot with memory. And so I could tell, you could sit there and go, okay, name a vegetable that starts with L. And I could sit there and picture it. I could tell you how to prepare it. I could tell you all sorts of things. What the name of that thing was, I could not remember. It was lettuce. But I just could not do it.
Yeah.
And so but as soon as that word came in, that word was reintroduced, boom, it was done and I was fine. But some people, they forget, like got TBI, that can go in and leave immediately. So that happened even at work where like there was a project that name changed and like I'm like, I cannot remember. I could remember the address, I could remember the contractor, I could remember all sorts of things, but not the new name of this project.
Well, it is like kind of frustrating in a way when you're smart, you know the things, and you cannot come on the word, and obviously it's not easy to deal with. But right now you're like very, very good. Like from the outside, most people will not know you had TBI, but there was also a time when we went to the doctor, and the doctor had access to your medical file, and he was surprised that you were like by the doctor just talking about something else.
Oh yeah, that was the gynecologist.
Yeah, so I'm trying to talk around there and
women's rights.
Yeah.
So,
what is also very important for you.
Correct. I am very much into the women's rights. But yeah, that was actually kind of, this is a funny story of going to the gynecologist because obviously I don't like going to I didn't like going to the doctor alone for a little while, so Fitz went with me. My gynecologist was male. The nurse was male, so I was the only female in the room for a female doctor service.
Yeah. It is kind of odd, but basically the doctor was shocked how well you're doing because like most people at this stage would probably drool or would still drool right now, and with that, I don't mean it in a derogatory term, but it's just like basically people are in a way worse condition. So it's a wonder that you're talking, that you're moving and doing all that.
And I'm as articulate as I am. So that's why I'm like, I talk for a little bit and I'm like, I know I sound really good, but yes, I had traumatic brain injury and it was severe. And so, yeah, there was, it's been quite a recovery. And so like it did unleash a lot of inhibitions in me. Like, it can be as simple as I went out and to have a buffet lunch thing at work, and instead of just getting all the food, I'm like, I'm scooping out immediately some of this tiramisu because I want it.
Yeah. Obviously, you got to enjoy life, but you got here also some soaps, if I see them right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit, because talk a little bit about your website, what you do for creativity, and the things that bring you joy.
Okay. I also don't have a sample of this. I also do part of my DIY projects was doing a dry shampoo product. This happened well before the accident, and I still remember how to make it, and I still sell it on Etsy. It's called Lift Off Beauty, and so it's a dry shampoo that's actually eco-friendly. I got it because we were flying around places, and it drove me nuts to think that I'm going to Germany, I'm going to Hawaii, and I have to go and I have to either shower every day and have to deal with all that with long hair, or I had to go and go shopping somewhere just for this specific product, in which in Germany they didn't have it. Yeah. So I made my own and decided to further challenge myself and make it eco-friendly, and it's doing really well. But besides this, back to the soap things, this was part of my weird hobby that I had before the accident, and I'm still continuing it after the accident. These ones I actually made after the accident, and it looks like a seashell, but it's soap.
So you're into soap making.
Correct.
And actually the kitty cat and the other one are actually my favorites. Can you hold them or give them to me, and I highlight them here? As you can see, this is now, come on, the kitty cat. I like the pattern and
yeah. So like it's soap making, the cold process soap making. It would be nice if you could put a light through it, because there's actually
see through.
It's the bottom is kind of see through, and there's actually a sea foam.
Yeah.
No, not sea foam. Crap, I'm not coming on the word. Sponge, sea sponge in there. Anyway, it's kind of like baking. So cold process soap making is like baking, but not edible. It's a type of chemistry that you can be really artsy with, and you get some oils and you have formulas. The only problem is like that's a little daunting towards people, is like you have to deal with lye, and lye, if that, like, you get a speck of lye and then you rub your eye, you're going to go blind. So I have not gone blind.
Well, we don't add that to the to-do list because we have enough on it.
No, so you have to wear eye protection. You have to be, but the thing is, like, again, you go bike riding, you wear a helmet, you ride your car, you wear a seatbelt. So you wear eye protection and you wash afterwards. It's like, there's ways of mitigating that and way to be easier. On top of that, I mean, I just in general like to create. I sit there and have drink with my name on it, and Fitzy has one with his name on it over there that he's not showing off.
Oh, okay, I showed off. I'm actually not full of myself. It's just like you're like doing the branded stuff.
It was for our wedding. It was for I gifted it. I made one for all of my family members and your family members. Coming to our wedding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like. So it's far more than just doing this dry shampoo, doing a website, that I am doing everything for it. So that's why also it looks a little bit sad.
Yeah. I mean, like, with that being said, like, doing it your own is definitely the way to go, because you learn from all angles, and basically when you later on hire people to help you, you know if they're performing or not performing, because some people don't know that other people are not knowing the job. That is a thing too. So
we'll go ahead and talk about my website, which is saturatelife.com.
I'm trying to load it up.
When I first did it, it was 2019, 2017, 2019, something like that. Completely skipping over 2018 there, because I know it wasn't that year.
Yeah.
And I just decided you challenged me to be better with myself, and I did a
there we go. It's finally there.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And so I did I decided to start doing a DIY website, because, like, man, oh man, if I don't like making soaps, then, like, I can at least show people how to do other things. And work stressed me out. DIY is not the cheapest.
Yeah, so talk about it a little bit. Like, what is DIY and how you got into it?
DIY, do it yourself. I mean, I just like making things, all sorts of things. So when I initially did it, when I initially started the website, I just wanted to make things. I wanted to do, and I wanted to create. So create before consume kind of thing. So there's an example. I was shown of the marvelous making of a copper rose by your father, Fitzy's father. And so I decided, okay, let's try it ourselves and make it ourselves. So I did, and I made a DIY on how to even do it. And that it's invigorating and fun to be able to make things yourself and I created this, I made this.
Also, check out the YouTube for her. She got a YouTube channel and everything.
Yes. So yeah, but then it kind of went silent. Pandemic happened, work happened, like all sorts of factors went into it, and it went quiet. But I still kept paying for it annually, because you have to pay for your website annually.
Yeah, but they make money as soon as you get enough views. Then at one point they're basically paying for themselves, and then the other way around too, and they pay you.
Yeah, and so then then the accident happened, and I had time to reflect on it, and I turned it like almost went like a completely different direction, and I'm now aiming towards mental health. because pre-accident I had anxiety, depression, and post-accident they want exponential. And so it's just, I'm looking up tools on how to go and help with anxiety, depression, how things that will benefit people, and things that will not help people, as in like alcohol does not help people. So like because of the accident I had to go sober, and honestly I've been sitting there since then going, holy crap, not having a hangover the next day or having the sour feeling. It's not hungover, but it's sour is the term that I use. Not having that feeling is great. And so it's honestly, I'm like, why even start drinking again?
Yeah. With that being said, like when you drink, your brain is not healing as fast because like it's when you drink and you get a hangover, you're trying to recover your brain. And so it's like it's already damaged. You're basically just making it worse. So
that's why like I'm a big advocate for sobriety, and now, well, more of a big advocate, I guess, for it. You do you. Ultimately, I think that everybody should just do things that make them happy and prideful, but like it's not beneficial. That's basically it. And so that's what my approach is. So that's what the whole stoicism thing is about, is through this process I'm trying to find things that benefit my brain. And stoicism, philosophy, like just learning new things helps, and that definitely does help increase the curiosity of the world, understanding of the world, and trying to make it so that the world comes more together and more at peace just in general to you.
Yeah, with that being said, like there's actually like a couple drinks that you also really like. What are like your non-alcoholic drinks of choice if you would have to make a recommendation?
My recommendation, if you want to have a non-alcoholic beer, these things are still 0.5, less than 0.5% of alcohol. So like if you have liver problems, I still don't suggest this. But in terms of recommendations for non-alcoholic beers, Athletic Brewing Company, I have not had a bad one from them. They only do non-alcoholic beers, so I really do recommend them. When it comes to wines, I am currently in love with Toast, T-O-S-T, but with the umlaut.
Okay, twist. Like kind of twistish.
No, Toast. It's toast. Like looks like toast.
Gotcha.
T-O with the umlaut.
Yeah.
S-T. Toast wines. I'm obsessed with the rosé because then I feel fancy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, teas. I'm obsessed with teas. Tea. Down to the point where I even figured out that this giant vine that we have growing in our yard is passiflora, passion fruit.
Yeah.
Vine, and that thing is actually ridiculously beneficial in terms of helping with anxiety, because it does help neurologically to make you more relaxed. So I literally grow my own tea.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's also very healthy and a good hobby, you know.
Yeah.
With that being said, like how you see the future for yourself with like progressing with like your injuries, like getting better. What are your goals and everything?
My goals in general is just to continue to be on the proper track of being better. I am doing human therapy. I say that because he flashed up my website and it said ChatGPT and mental health. So yes, I still do advocate that having a human therapist is definitely beneficial. So I want to mentally get better. But then also in terms of like career-wise, like I would love for my website to do better in terms of, because like I'm so invigorated every single time I discover something new and I write about it, and like I get to like sit there and think about and mull over things of like, okay, what are some advice that I give to people for burped.
This struggle.
For recovering from traumatic brain injury, for all sorts of things that like with that deal with anxiety, depression, and mental health concerns, because like I do have family members that are bipolar and things like that. So like there's more than just anxiety and depression. Like the brain is, mental health matters, and brain is really important to be able to discover and research.
Yeah. I think this is a very powerful message, and I kind of want to be like, can you talk a little bit about what you find in the Reddit group for TBI? What are the common symptoms other people have, and what they are struggling with, and how you compare their lives to your life? And
fatigue is definitely something that I can have relation to. It's mostly the unknown. It's honestly what's surprising. It's people talking about, I had my TBI 5, 10, 12, 20 years ago, and is this still going on with anybody else? That happens, and the severity of it is so variable to it. And it's not just the people who have had TBI, it's also family members. So people like you, like going, my husband, my wife, my child had TBI. What do I do? It's people just trying to get help and answers. And that's what my biggest concern is. Like, there aren't answers. That's why I'm a big advocate for brain research in general, for mental health purposes, for TBI purposes, because the brain is so complex and we don't know enough about it.
I mean, like, it's a very case-by-case thing. I kind of can recall when you kind of were fresh out of your accident and you kind of on your way to recovery and still recovering. But we were driving in the car and, well, bike accident happens, and we actually see a person with TBI. On the way when I went to your hospital, when you were in the hospital, I saw somebody with TBI. I saw somebody... so we together saw in the car somebody, same location. So there's some locations where the city can do more, in my opinion, because like there's lots of people having accidents, but sometimes it's just like bad time, bad spot kind of sort of thing.
I don't recall that we saw an accident happen.
Oh, we did. Did you? Yeah.
I probably did freak out.
Yes, you did.
There's things that just like get bloop out of my memory, I guess. And that's also something about when it first happened, I also couldn't speak.
Yeah.
That was also, this is like way back in the conversation, but like I couldn't speak. My sister talked to me on the phone and she said I could say short things, like a word or two, but if I tried to do a sentence, it just turned into syllabic mumble jumble.
Yeah, there was definitely times where it was really, really bad, and it obviously got faster, better, what is very good, because like I think you even signed a card from your father for his birthday.
My father's birthday is October 23rd.
Yeah.
My accident was the 14th. So that's how quick that I was able to see inside the card.
Yeah. So the doctors and everybody else were like expecting you cannot even sign it or remember your name or how to write or whatever. So I was kind of believing in you, and I was right, like I'm usually am. But yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely have recovered a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of TBI recovery, but even since from then, I mean, like it's came down to I came home, we had Thanksgiving and not too long afterwards, and I remembered exactly how to go and make sure that I get all of the turkey stock from that turkey. You're rolling your eyes at me because you're not that into chicken and turkey stock, but it's just like there's things that I just knew exactly how to do them.
Yeah. This is actually also like a really good point to get into the one thing where you kind of struggle with, and that is like still kind of new and like depending OCD and tics, if that makes sense, because when you were in a hospital, you were trying to clean the windows because they were dirty, and you were like, okay, this must be cleaned. And talk a little bit about it and what is the experience. And
I don't remember that. So when it comes to OCDs and things and tics and things like that, nowadays I do know when I'm getting overwhelmed, I get a brain, I twitch my head. I can do it as an example. It's like if I kind of like go like that, then that's when I know I'm getting overwhelmed is when I start doing something like that. OCDs and stuff like that. This place is Fitzy's office.
What are you trying to say here? Yeah, all the cables and whatever. I know. The struggle is real. Yeah.
So if I clean, I will clean, and
getting overwhelmed with
the cleaning, and so like I become a crying mess sometimes.
Yeah, I think like this is also like very powerful. Like when you start cleaning and you have like too much on your plate and you basically stop midway because you're mentally not capable of doing it because you're just exhausted and freaking out. You kind of make it more dirty than it's clean. So it's like, yeah, where I only clean like 80%, and let the 20% there. But usually it's more cleaner than before. It's usually the other way around. But you will try to do everything what is too much. So it's...
Yeah, so that is something to be talking about because I had to do stuff with my room. My parents came down from Ohio and literally stayed in our house and like was in my office sleeping on a mattress in the office, which like, thank goodness that they came. They were definitely loved and needed. But... yeah, I'm just, with my fear of, like, people coming up behind me, like, all these things, I'm like, I need to rearrange my office. So I had to, like, break it down into small bits of, like, how do I clean my office and how do I rearrange my office and things like that so that I don't have this much fear of people approaching.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Yeah, with that being said, what are the things where you're, like, still struggling with in a way? Besides, like, obviously that, like, are there any other fears and uncertainties?
Finances.
Oh.
Medical bills.
Yeah.
This is the great talk of American healthcare system, and like, even before my accident, I was not a fan of the current American healthcare system. I'm not saying that like other countries have it right. I don't think that anybody has it 1000% correct. But whatever America has is not correct.
Yeah.
It is like the antithesis of correct. Because our medical bills, I had to pay hundreds per month to be able to even get health care. And then I had the accident. I have to go and deal with recovering from it. And so I don't focus on recovering on it. I have to go and like I get a bill from this physician. I get a bill from this physician. It's not one bill. It's like 20 different places coming in asking for money. And it's like, this thing shouldn't be like this when you're trying to recover from any sort of accident. I should be focusing on recovery, not bills.
Yeah, that is very true. With that being said, like, yeah, it is a whole lot to unpack there. And I sadly don't want to really go into it because, like, obviously you're not in the mental state to talk too long about negative things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll get really angry and I'll probably...
or sad. Yeah. So with that being said, like, there's like a cool projects like this that I kind of want to shout out where we future-wise maybe sell one or two art pieces that are going to a good cause and...
Correct.
Medical bills.
Yeah. Mostly it's going to go to medical bills. But this certainly won't be the last instance of this going on. I plan on actually continuing to do this project in general for funding of bills and but in general, doing this is therapeutic for me. It is a form of art therapy and it is incredibly beneficial for me to do them. So in general, it is for me, but I also hope that other people also find benefit from it just because from its beauty in general of having artwork that's on display, and to understand that it's not just going to go and make somebody rich.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a very powerful thing, and I really like the art piece, and it says a lot about a lot of good stuff. And if you're really into motivation, self-help, and whatever, stoicism in general, this is like the bee's knees. Just takes a while to produce because it's 100% handmade. Besides like the the print that you
I was
put
gonna
on
say,
there.
it's
that,
like 80%.
80%. Everything handwritten.
The last 20% is the person on there, but like I still have to go and do digital editing and things like that. So like it is still like this statue actually doesn't exist as it is. He's missing the sword, but he needed the sword, so he has a sword now.
There we go.
So
so the sword is photoshopped into that, and you kind of glued it on there.
Yeah, the sword is photoshopped into there, but otherwise I mostly make sure the colors are voided and the hues are correct. So that's what the process is, and the digital thing is to make sure there's no background, to make sure the brights and darks are correct. But the background is actually what takes the most time, because that's what's handwritten. And this one, I took the element that I made for my personal Nothing More one that I made and have hanging up in my room from their lyrics, that I decided to splatter some water onto it to like make the words kind of like come around. It looks really, really cool. So I decided to do that with this one. Oh crap, this doesn't look as good. But then I still decided I'm going to finish it, and I put Marcus Aurelius on there. And because he looks like he's at war, and so like I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually looks really, really, really cool. Even though
war with himself.
Yeah, he's at war with himself. He's at war with others. He's at war with so like. Having this like kind of look that he's going through his own troubles I thought was beautiful and helpful anyway, despite the fact that I initially doubted this piece.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
It turned out good. I really like it. With that being said, do you have any questions for me? I could like maybe answer some or so, or you.
I did not realize that this was going to be part of the thing.
We could. It's
I guess
like,
when
you
it
know.
comes to my traumatic brain injury, like that was the first time I ever heard of you crying. How was the whole situation?
You're calling me out here on the thing. I would never cry.
So first off,
I don't cry. First off,
camera back to me. We've been together. Sorry. We've been together for over 8 years now. This accident happened between our 7th and 8th year of being together. So I definitely know you as a person. This entire time, I have never seen you cry.
I do not cry.
I've seen you in anguish. I've seen you sad. I've seen all sorts of things, but I've never seen tears come out. I know.
Also, you don't remember it, so you cannot even say that it's right.
I've heard from others, and so don't hiss at me. And so that was just it. How'd the TBI and recovery all feel for you? You are the spouse of someone, so how does that feel as being the spouse of someone, and like the type of care that you need to then deal with? Well,
first off, it is very, very tough when that happens, and I was obviously very optimistic because I'm usually a very lucky person, so I'm just lucky by nature, and usually nothing bad happens to me. And that was one of the bad things that happened, so I was like very certain that you will be better, and I was kind of right, but I could have been also wrong. That's just my ignorance. I like the world in a positive way, so I'm very positive and usually look for the best, and obviously manifested. But with that being said, it's obviously tough because like at the time basically everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like the AC stopped working. I was like basically had to work. Doing client work was kind of rough. Basically everything came together, and it was a tough time, definitely. Yeah, it was a good call, I think. I was not sure if I should do it, but I basically set up a GoFundMe, and I think that worked out well and helped a lot and relieved a lot of mental stress that I had and we had, and it really helped out. Obviously, it went all to medical bills and all that stuff, correct, but still very, very tough.
Correct. And like, yes, that helps a lot with the deductible, but it's still open, still available, because my deductible ended cut off on January 1st. So then I had to get a new MRI, and I had to go to the neurologist again, and I have to go to all this. It doesn't stop. So like, it's not like, oh, you pay your deductible, you're done. You don't have anything to worry about. It doesn't work like that. And so that's the American healthcare system.
Yeah. With that being said, like, there's obviously a lot of like follow-up doctor appointments and stuff like that. How's that treating you?
It's good. The camera needs switched back around. It's on you.
Oh, look at you.
Otherwise, it's good. Like, basically, there's a lot of just check-ins of like, how are you doing and what's going on, like, how are you feeling, like that sort of thing. But otherwise, it feels kind of more and more I'm coming back together. So it's also kind of like, what happened to me and what's going on, because like they remember all of it, but I don't remember all of it. So like I don't know how to react or how to come into these things. But otherwise, they're basically telling me you're healing really well. And so that is also very reassuring.
Yeah. It is obviously very tough to, how do you say that? Like, apparently you mentioned it a couple times that you're like worried I would leave you because like, oh, husbands do that. So can you talk about that a little bit? Because obviously I'm not planning on doing that or whatever, but I'm just like, the general population would do that. So
there is, I don't know the statistics numbers or anything like that, but I know it is much more likely for a man to leave his wife if she gets diagnosed with cancer, as opposed to when he gets diagnosed with cancer. She stays. And so I was already worried about that, because when we did our vows, I took what was generically there from the company, and then I make sure to add in through sickness and in health. It was tested first year. And so that was just something that I was in general nervous and worried about, that you would see this as more of a negativity thing.
Yeah. Well, obviously I don't, because I love my babe. Obviously it's also very weird to do a podcast with your wife. You kind of surprised me with your spontaneous side now, and I was basically not dressed or anything for it, but we're taking it as it comes, and I'm spontaneous too. I can do this. Yeah, but obviously my shirt is matching now your art piece, and I just got it today, so I'm like very stoked about that. With that being said, like, I'm very proud of you for all the progress that you do, and the experiments you do, and like basically having a good spirit about like trying new things, moving forward, and being positive.
You're not very excited about the experiments with food, though.
No,
that's also part of my experiments. I experiment with food.
Yeah, I do not, because I'm very basic. I like my spaghetti always the same way, and as often as possible, and with no variations, and in the same way.
And
Did I mention the same way?
And I'm the opposite, where I want to try something. I want to experiment all the time, like places, foods, anything and everything. That's why I wanted to do a DIY blog, because then I'm always doing new projects and I'm not doing the same thing all the time. Yeah. But then I realized how expensive it is.
Yeah, and how much stuff you accumulate.
I have so much stuff in my room for all sorts of things.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the whole social media thing, because like the podcast in general is kind of like about the social media thing. Now, obviously, you did a little bit social media, but before your accident, you were antisocial, I would say. Like, you're not really extroverted like I am, and you do basically the opposite. And afterwards, you changed as a person, so we should talk about that too. Let's go into both, and you do it however you want.
I still don't like doing social media. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's tiresome. Because you have to do a lot of editing, you have to do a lot. It feels like you have to do a lot to be in any way successful. And if all I had to do was just put my phone up and talk to it, that would be different. But I have to go and like use the Ryan Magan formula, and and I have to go and figure out exactly how to like make things go on there and work, or like have to read all the numbers and stuff like that, and that stresses me out when all I just want to do is just be and do and make. But since the accident, ultimately what I really wanted to do was just be an advocate for mental health. Like, there's people who have TBIs and just don't know even where to look or where to ask. So I wanted to try and be that branch to say, you can do good. It is a struggle, and you're a real person, no matter what.
Yeah. I think that's very powerful and admirable. Yeah. It is not easy having like brain injury and like basically living a life where it's like, okay, you're not 100% yourself, but this is now the new me. How you feeling with that, and what are your thoughts on that?
The new me is that I'm a lot more friendly than what I used to be. It's like almost weirdly childlike. But to the point where like I do know that I shouldn't be go following people around, but everybody needs to just, I don't know, I toss compliments out like they're candy to everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
And like to the point where I was sitting next to my husband on a plane, and the guy next to me, I like looked over at him and I'm like, holy crap, wow, your eyes are pretty. And he just kind of was like, he did not know what to do about that, because
it is a little bit odd, I'm not gonna lie.
No, and so like, no, I'm not trying to instigate a relationship of any kind. It's just like, it costs me nothing, but it makes you feel good, then yeah, why not? And that's part of my philosophy, is just, you should just make people feel good about existing and being who they are.
Yeah. With that being said, it's also like kind of a weird concept, because like as an adult, you don't know how many barriers you built in your life, and that's kind of what I learned. You know, like we kind of build up our mental barriers and guidelines and rails that we go through life in a certain way, and they're kind of built. And when you were after your accident, you basically were cured from depression until it came back, you know, and you basically were the reset Rachel till you rebuild all the bad connections and the good connections.
Correct. And I guess that is something to point out. Like, I did feel like my fortress that I built around myself, that to try to help me with my pre-accident depression was completely demolished, and I went back down to my foundations. And so my foundations is an empath to the T. And so then moving on from that, stuff started building back up again. And I went, no, let's not build all this back up again. Let's try to build anew in a way. So that's in a weird way. So like the TBI is a gift and a curse at the same time. It was a gift because I was able to rebuild myself and try to be the better version of me with all the knowledge that I have of the past. But the bad thing is now I need snacks and naps.
Yeah.
And juices to go be able to hydrate.
Yeah. Gotta stay hydrated, especially in Florida. It ain't easy. Yeah, with that being said, I don't even know, because I'm not really prepared for this podcast right now, because you overrun me. What else you want to talk about? What is on your mind? I never asked that question, so.
What else is on my mind? Your pretty face.
Yeah, well, this is not for the listeners. What could be of public interest? Or what was a thing that you think was very helpful that your loved ones did for you while you had TBI?
So they just in general helped take care of me and my home. Like, they weren't a bunch of servants, because like I was able to help and assist with them, but I did go back and return to a lot of childlike behaviors and things that even I did as a child. My mother and father, again, they came down to help assist us. And so part of the recovery process, I was helping my mom cook again. So like I was cutting up vegetables for her, because that's what I was physically able to do.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So like being able to relive good memories and things like that kind of thing was really, really nice. And just be able to feel the love and the care and the hugs and the reminders, the constant reminders that I am very, very loved and cared for. Because I guess that's what I should reiterate. I'm you're very loved. Everybody's very loved, a lot more than what they really think they are. Because I received a lot of get well soon cards. There was flowers sent. I don't remember the flowers. Sorry, they died before I could remember. But there was flowers sent. There was gifts sent. So everyone's a lot more loved than really what they think they are. And remember that you really are. You really are loved. And you can even say, do you love me? And people will say, absolutely, yes, of course. But until you get an accident, you even kind of forget that.
Yeah. I mean, like, that is like another thing with mindset where it's like, yeah, people love their people and we sometimes forget. And that is very powerful too. And you saved all your cards, and
I really did. I still look at all the get well soon cards because like it does mean a lot to be reminded that you are loved. It's not a routine thing. It was definitely something that they took time to write some beautiful, wonderful messages. My aunt Belinda sent me a coloring book with colored pencils that are absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And so I'm like, I haven't colored in so long, but it's so wonderful that she's thinking of me like that.
Yeah. Yeah, with that being said, I think this was a great episode.
Yes.
I'm doing the segue.
So like, everybody is loved. You're loved, Fitzy.
Yeah, but I kind of got to pack up, get ready for a live stream tonight, and do all those other things. And yeah, it was good having you on the podcast. And obviously, I hope you come back onto the podcast when I'm more prepared. Prep time.
Sounds good. Right.
Yeah, thank you. So have a good one, guys.